So I thought we would talk about what actually makes us different. Why were we able to do what we did with our property portfolio so far, and why don't most people do exactly what we've done, building a multi-million-dollar property portfolio and trying to create passive income. So I guess the point of this chat is just to talk about what we've done over the last 5 to 6 years, and even before then, and what sets us apart in terms of our property portfolio and our investing journey. I guess to take us all the way back to the start.
When's the start?
Start for me is probably following my mum and dad's property portfolio journey. They had some big ups and some big downs. They bought in some great locations and they bought in some terrible locations in one-trick pony mining towns. And they also bought in some blue chip suburbs. So for me, at about the ages of 14, 15, 16, seeing homes that needed repairs and seeing what I would do differently when eventually we did build our portfolio, that was the base for me. That was the start. So I guess at around the ages of 15 or 16, I knew I wanted to be in the business world and I knew I wanted to have choices. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And that's why I went into accounting as my vocation, is because I just wanted to go into the business world. I actually wanted to own my own business and run my own business, but I thought accounting would be an area that would give me a good start and give me a good base in terms of starting my own business, and eventually, I see a portfolio as a business as well.
Not many people think like that though. The numbers are the last bit of the business that you think about.
Yeah. So I guess that's probably area number one, is that motivation. That do you really want to do this as a business, and are you motivated to actually learn? I think that leads me into, I was listening to a million podcasts. Every time I go to the gym, I listen to a podcast. Back in the day, they had the investing property magazines that my parents would buy, and even as a 16-year-old, I know how lame that sounds, I would read them and be like, I think I had like $4,000 in the bank at the time, and I was like, I want to buy a house, I want to get my hands dirty, I want to get stuck in. And then that's kind of when we saved for our very first property.
We started saving as soon as we got married.
Yeah.
So we'd had the expense of the wedding out of the way.
Yeah.
And it was like we were both working almost full-time jobs. I was still studying and working
Still working part-time. Yeah.
But we're at the point where working was our primary thing instead of uni. So that meant that we could actually start saving a decent chunk.
Yeah, so I think we'd started with about $10,000 in our bank account after we got married, probably from a few gifts from
I think it was a bit less than that.
Less than $10,000, wow. And we were paying about $320 a week, which was so much money for us at the time in terms of rent. We felt like most of our paycheck was going out the door. And I'd started my first job at an accounting firm, earning $45,000 a year plus super, and you were still working part-time. But from day one of us getting married, and again, I think something that's a little bit different from us to other people is we definitely have our finances on the same page. Yeah. So it's our money as a team, and it's always been our money. We've always grown the portfolio together. Yeah. So even though you might see myself a lot on the YouTube channel, it's a team effort in terms of earning the money, saving the money together, and working on the projects together. Whether you're actually doing the labor or not is different, but the whole thing is a team project for us.
Yeah, and we knew that was our savings goal from the outset, so we were both working towards that
same target. So I think we saved about $66,000 after about 2 years of saving and being married.
Which was an effort. That was really tough to do.
And we tried some side hustles as well during that first few years. We tried our own clothing company, we went to some markets, we tried selling stuff online, but we were pretty uneducated on those spaces. Yeah. But we learned a lot from doing those things. We learned a little bit about marketing, and you need to do what you're passionate about as well, because I think I wasn't, I like clothes, but not enough to start my own label or be a designer from that point of view. So that's where we were able to save $66,000.
Yeah, I'd say from an outsider's perspective, that side hustle was a complete failure.
Well, we lost like $3,000, I think.
A lot of money for us at the time, but in hindsight, it wasn't a fail at all because we learned so much. Like if we had spent $3,000 on a course, like a business course or something, marketing course, we still
or even paid ads, or I don't know. It just wouldn't have.
We still wouldn't have learned as much as we did in that time period. So worth it, 100%.
A life lesson. And so we bought our first place not knowing a whole lot. And that's what a lot of people do. I think when you're starting out, you're just kind of diving into the deep end. We did use someone who was a pseudo buyer's agent for our first purchase. I think we paid them about $8,000 in 2018. So it was worth it for us at the time to pay for that fee. And that's what a buyer's agent is. And it's not worth it for everyone, but for us, we talked and, should we or shouldn't we use this advisor or this buyer's agent? And for us, it was worth it because they actually saved us money on the negotiation. They didn't actually help us find the property. We ended up finding the property, but that's where it was worth it for us in terms of saving probably 20, 25 grand that we would have over offered on the property that needed a lot of work.
Yeah, so that well truly covered his fee. And we learnt a lot from him in the process too. So
what to do and what we wouldn't do in terms of running our own buyer's agency, which was to come to
that's true.
fruition.
We learnt a lot of things both ways.
Yeah. And so we got into that property for around about the 800K mark. And that's where the hard work didn't stop. I think a lot of people get to their first property, get to that first hurdle, and it's such a relief and it's such a big, life goal that they might take the foot off the gas pedal. But we went probably
harder,
pedal to the metal from there and continued with our renovations. We got some help from some tradies at my football team, and we were able to redo a new kitchen in that location, redo the bathroom. We even saved money to do a trip overseas. So we tried to find the balance between building our portfolio and renovating, as well as growing our income in our day jobs, and kind of all of that working in tandem. So growing our day job incomes, renovating on the home, and enjoying life at the same time. We didn't want to compromise in any of those areas. I think that was really important to us, that we wanted everything. We wanted a cake, and we wanted to eat it too by saving hard, playing hard, and enjoying life.
Yeah, and I think that's always the case. You're just sort of moving each one up and down depending on what the goals are. So early on, lifestyle was probably the lowest it's ever been for obvious reasons, because we needed money to build our portfolio. We knew that once we did, our lifestyle would be able to increase. Obviously not too much.
Within reason. We could have a bigger holiday, and we could spend a bit more money on those lifestyle items that, going out. But generally, we were pretty hardcore in terms of saving and building the portfolio and building that snowball.
Yeah.
Because I think this is what I guess would set us apart, is between properties 1 and properties 2 and 3 and 4, is keeping that flywheel moving and building the momentum between each of those purchases.
Yeah. I mean, we bought the first place, we're saving that whole time, went on a big trip that we'd saved for as well, and as soon as we got back, we bought another renovator.
Yeah.
So it was always like
progressing
on to the next thing. And it's easy to do that when you know that's what your goals are.
Yeah.
We were working towards that for years before we were able to do it.
And I think our first goal was probably about 2.5 to 3 mil in property. And then as we had the more chats with the banks, we worked out what we could do each step of the way. So we bought the baby Queenslander in April 2020, which was probably the craziest period for a lot of people. COVID had probably been announced and spread across the world around Feb 2020, so it was peak pandemonium. But we
were meant to go to auction that weekend, and auctions were cut off that same week, so it was literally right in the middle of everyone freaking out about property and obviously global pandemic.
Yeah, and we missed out on another property that the agent was selling probably 2 weeks prior by under offering. And that's what a lot of people do in terms of making mistakes. They find a great property, they do all the research, understand the data, understand the area, and then they lowball on it and miss out and miss out and miss out, and then eventually overpay because they've been missing out so regularly. So going through that experience of missing out on a few properties really helped hone in on our pricing structures, how we wanted to analyze those properties, and just getting a deal. And so we paid 544 grand for the baby Queenslander, and you can see the renovation series on the YouTube channel. That's history. And that, I guess, is the other thing that sets us apart, is doing the work ourselves saves us a lot of money and allows us to fast track this journey. We wanted to get to a point where we can come to, you can see the view here on the other side, come to Tasmania and have some more holidays and run our own business and create more choices in our life. And we knew that the hard work of getting those properties was going to set us up for more choices.
Yeah. And I think it's worth saying that we get the comment way too often. I reckon every couple of months of like, how do you sleep at night with that much debt?
Oh, yeah.
So easily, honestly.
Sleep like a baby.
All of our investments pretty much pay for themselves. Yeah, we sleep easy at night because look at the lifestyle we get to live because of the hard work that we put in.
It's definitely different from where we would have been if we hadn't invested in property.
And I get that comment. I understand it, because if your mindset is, I just want to buy a house and it's just the one and done and it's your own home, it's not an investment. It's not going to make you any money. So of course it's going to make
it's going to take money out of your pocket. Yeah.
I could never imagine going into that amount of debt. Well, yeah, I couldn't either if it was my own home and it was never going to make money.
Yeah. So we probably pay around $750 a week in terms of our mortgage on our own home. And for us that's a comfortable amount of rent. We paying for, if we were renting a place, that would be a decent amount to be paying, and we could, afford that these days. But I think for a lot of people, it's overreaching on spending on themselves, on their own home, on their lifestyle too early, rather than focusing on the investment first. And I think once you get to a point in your portfolio where we are now, that's where you can open up a little bit more in terms of your options. We wanted to get our own home, so that was our third purchase, buying the triple Gable Queenslander. And I know you said that your own home generally isn't an investment, but for us it definitely has been, because we, again, did our first renovation on that, spent about 50k, added a lot of value, and now we're looking to do our raise and build project in the next 12 to 18 months. And that, again, is going to add a lot of value that we couldn't have really afforded without undertaking that as a project.
Yeah, and you also have to consider that time mitigates risk, and we've started this journey really early. So if the worst happens, then we've still got a lot of time to recover before we retire.
For sure. So we've been renovating our own home, and we pulled out equity across all of our properties, and that allowed us to buy the unit block in Coffs Harbour. That's what I feel took us to the next level. So we would have been with a lot of other investors in Australia by having, one or two investment properties and our own home. But the thing that really took us to the next level in terms of cash flow, in terms of capital, and the ability to add value is that Coffs purchase, which was a crazy story in itself, that we missed out on an auction at Burleigh Heads.
Oh, we loved that house.
Yeah. So there was a unit block in Burleigh Heads that had a lot of potential, but it went for millions too many.
Yeah.
And we ended up securing a day or two later a property in Coffs Harbour that ticked a lot of our boxes in terms of adding value, as well as having cash flow and being in a great location. So we paid 1.4 mil for that place. We're going to have to spend probably another 100,000 in terms of renovations, but that's going to be our big cash flow asset that's going to give us choices going forward by giving us that passive income.
Yeah. What's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
The point is to do things differently. I guess that's the point. Is that if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. So for us, it was about learning every step of the way, doing a bit of hard work through some renovations to fast track our journey. But the point for me is that, you need to do things differently. Otherwise, you're going to end up with the same results that everyone has, which is retiring at 60 or 65 with not a lot of passive income. So take action early, get your finances in order, and do a lot of hard work along the way.
And do your research.
Do your research. So I know a lot of you might not have heard our story before in that detail from an end to end, but I thought it would be valuable because there's a lot of new subscribers here on the channel, and we love seeing the channel grow and sharing our journey, and we're going to continue to do that. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop a like on this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.